It's time to focus on the shop and get some much needed work completed with it. When I had this shop built last year, I just wanted my shop. I didn't think of anything else. I just wanted to have this finally, and I had no idea that it would essentially be like building a second house. So I've been working on extension cord power for the past couple of months, as you guys know, and it's time to finally take care of that. But it's going to be a lot of work. In this episode, we'll be running 220 feet of conduit to the shop, 36 inches underground, mounting the meter base for power, building a road, a front parking area, grading around the shop, and bringing water to the shop. Here we go.
Well, this is gonna be a huge project. As you guys can see, they already got started on the dirt work and the grading around the shop. And this whole area, it was all weeds, because after the shop was built, I kind of let it all get overgrown and they just took over the entire backyard. So we were getting weeds, and from the weeds we got bugs, and from all of that, you know, there was moisture. And we have the gutters on the shop, which is good. That's a great deterrent for, you know, keeping water away from the pole barn. But we have to be careful because it is a pole barn. It's made out of wood. The poles are set in the ground, and the poles are wood. Even though they're treated, we want to work on proper drainage and sloping and everything grading to keep water away from the shop. So that's a big part of what we're doing here. Also going to be building the front parking pad. That'll be a 30 by 50 area in front of the shop. And after all that is done, we have to trench 220 feet from the shop to the front of the house, lay conduit in the trench, bring power to the shop, and then build a road to get back here. So a lot of work. These guys are pretty cool. They're gonna let me record it all. And yeah, we'll do our best to document the process and make a cool video out of it.
I think these track loaders, skid steers, mini X's, all these pieces of equipment that these guys use are so cool. I definitely need to own something in the future, like a mini skid or a mini X, maybe both, because every time that I watch these guys work, it motivates me and inspires me to learn this skill. It's just so useful for these kinds of projects. So yeah, maybe in the future we pick something like this up. But as you can see here, he's getting started on cleaning up this junk that I've allowed to just accumulate in this backyard in the form of weeds and branches and sticks and twigs. And we're just gonna make a pile here to haul off later. Just a big junk pile you can see there in the corner. And he has this really cool like land leveler, land planer attachment thing. And clearly I don't work in excavation, but it seems to be a land leveler to me. And it's like a Photoshop brush or an eraser, if you will. Basically, you go over all the bad and you just drive forward and it replaces it with all the good. It seemed to just level everything out instantly and get it ready for what's going to actually build this front parking area, which will be pit run with road mix all compacted down, which in the future, if we want to lay down some asphalt or concrete, we can, but we could just keep that parking area forever with just the pit run and the road base as well. So here's how it looked after a few short minutes. Now I need to mount the meter base to the shop, and the idea that I had was to use this super strut, unistrut, whatever you want to call it, and mount it to the shop and then use threaded inserts that go into that strut channel as a way to secure the meter base to the steel siding of the shop. But I also have to keep it waterproof. So to make a watertight seal, I'm using a rubber washer with the steel washer behind the strut, which will sandwich between the shop and the strut to prevent water from getting behind the siding. I wish I would have known better or noticed that this meter base didn't have a 3-inch knockout for the 3-inch conduit. There are a bunch of requirements that I had to abide by from the power company for the meter base. Had to have no bypass, had to meet certain outdoor ratings, and all of that never said that it also had to have a 3-inch knockout to support the 3-inch conduit. I guess that's just something that I was supposed to know, but I didn't. So actually all the work I'm doing right now has to be redone later in the video.
Well, it's day 2 of the project. We're working on the trench right now. Mounted that meter base last night, as you guys saw, and we're currently working on just getting this trench to be 33 inches deep for the conduit all the way to the power. So you can see Darren here working on the trench. We're building a ramp up to, this will be the road right here too that actually gets us into the backyard. So you can kind of start seeing it take shape. We're gonna be able to drive down right here, retaining wall in this area. Power will be trenched under here. We have to fix all the sprinklers. See, we got a bunch of busted poly tubing right there for the sprinklers. That power will then go to the shop, and the road will come through this area right here to the front parking area of the shop. We were actually supposed to be working on more of the grading and the fill around the shop today, but I don't know if you guys remember a couple episodes ago when I did the floor seal in the shop with the Ghost Shield. I was talking about how I have someone that blocked our access to our back irrigation canal road. So long story short, there's a guy that lives across the canal that has put up no trespassing signs on a road that we have an easement to and we're allowed to use. And yeah, we can't get back here. So we had to get the city involved, and they couldn't figure out who does what, who owns what, who can help us with that. And eventually, the person that actually owns that last piece of land, who's not the guy that's across the street, but someone else, had the cops come out here to deliver us the news that we're allowed to use the road. So I don't know, a very convoluted, complicated issue that's now resolved, and we're able to get into the back of my own property. So anyway, we're working on the trench now instead, and that's the reason why. I just went to the electrical supply store to get this little coupler that's gonna go into the bottom of the meter, and the trench is done, but we ran into a problem. The cutouts for this are only 2.5 inch, and this is 3, so as you can see, if that were to go in there, that's the same size as what's on the bottom. It can't fit, so I don't know if they make an adapter to go from 3 inch to 2.5, so I could screw that in there, but as it is right now, that's not gonna work. And if I have to get a different meter base, hopefully the mounting position is the same, which is like 8 inches on center for those 2 mounting holes or for the 4 mounting holes that mount the meter base to the unistrut. So if not, we're gonna have to re-drill those and mount it up all over again. So hopefully there's some sort of coupler, or if not, we can just get a different meter base and just make this work as it is. All right, well, we can't take care of that electrical today, but one of the things we can do is these irrigation lines. So obviously when we trenched this whole thing out, we ended up tearing out a whole bunch of irrigation lines. And what we're gonna do is everything that's alongside the fence, there were a bunch of sprinklers here, we're just gonna move them to the other side of the road. So to do that though, we need to cap what was torn apart to at least see what zone is what sprinklers are running when those are turned on, and then, you know, see what we can move and what we can delete, and basically just clean up this whole area. So just gonna cut this poly pipe right here and put on a cap. We're just using these plugs. I don't know if you can see that, these plugs right here. And these plugs are just gonna crimp on with a, I don't know what you wanna call this, a poly crimp. So let's get all these done. I think I'm gonna have to actually jump into this trench. Whoa. All right, here I go. That's not that deep. All right. Put the crimp on. Jam in this plug. All right, now we'll just do the same thing for the other 3 lines and see where we're at. This trench is pretty deep, man. All right, last one. I think this one is part of zone 4. Whoa, whoa. But I guess we'll see. There we go. It's been raining too. It's like Louisiana out here. It's 105 5 and it was pouring rain, so we're kind of in like a really muddy trench right now. Look at my shoe. All right, let's get this crimp on and see where we're at. So I'm gonna turn the sprinklers on via the control valves here instead of the sprinkler box in the garage because I don't wanna have to run back and forth. So I don't know what zone is what, but we're gonna find out quick. So that one's on, it's starting to rain again. Okay, that looks like it's turning on over here. Oh, we're definitely, okay. So we got an issue. So right here, we are, you know, obviously we sprung a leak, so we'll turn that one off. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't want to keep it running, but I'm also curious to see if this is anywhere else. I thought maybe it'd be that green line over there too, but all right, so that one is severed. That is zone 4. So I'm gonna have to figure out what's feeding that. We'll turn that off for now. Try the next one. See how this one does. Go check and see if we have any leaks. I don't hear anything. I might hear something. Yeah, I think that's the green one I was worried about. Yeah, now that one is, okay. Oh, this is a disaster. Okay, so we gotta turn that one off and then try the next one. Maybe we'll be in luck here. One of these is, the first couple caps I did, one of them is zone 6. So these ones are good. This is zone 6. These are the ones that were the first couple that we capped over there. So basically there's a line that goes that way to the fence and from that one to the fence. We just need to bring them back on this side, install those sprinklers on this side of the road. We just have to figure out those ones. So probably do that once these trench spoils are not blocking our access. So that means that this one must be zone 5. This is probably oh yeah, turns on that one right there. So this is the main backyard, the other half of it. So that's gonna turn on that one over there. All right, so we're good. Just gotta turn this off. So we have an issue with zone 4 and zone 3. 5 and 6 are good. So I know that was kind of all over the place, jumping around the sprinklers, but basically zone 4 was already bad before we dug the trench. It already had a leak, and we don't use zone 4 anyway because it's in an area of the yard that we don't water and we kind of want it to die. But zone 3 feeds the entire right half of the front yard, so we are gonna have to fix that. So we'll just get to that once we make some more progress on the road.
Well, $140 later, and I have a new meter base that is both compliant with my power company and has a 3-inch knockout. I did get lucky and Home Depot took back the old meter that wasn't gonna work, but just like I expected, the mounting holes on this base are not the same as the other base. So now I have to remove the strut off the side of the shop, remeasure, re-drill, and remount. The positive side of this is that since I used relatively small screws to mount it with, I can just put the self-sealing siding screws back in that were already in the shop siding right into the holes that I made for the old mounting location, so I won't have any issues with leaks. Here's a tip I got from my neighbor for finding the center of bolt holes. Take the measurement from the sides of the holes instead of trying to guess the center of the hole. From side to side is the same distance as from center to center if the shapes are the same. This works with the strut on the shop too. 11 inches on center for the meter base holes means that 11 inches between the same surfaces of the strut will also yield an 11-inch center between the struts.
Well, it's inspection day today for that trench. The power company is going to be out here in an hour to make sure that we can backfill that and everything is up to their code and standards. But Darren is not wasting any time. We just got a delivery of pit run here, which is going to be used for the front area of the shop. I'm assuming there's more coming. and we got the retaining wall blocks yesterday. Now, this is just one half of the retaining wall. There's gonna be two sides, of course, for each side of the road. We're still waiting on a couple more blocks, but this is what we have right now. But one thing I wanna take care of before he starts laying down this parking area, if you remember, I ran plumbing in the shop in one of the last videos, and well, not plumbing, but I stubbed it for a sink, and those go under this area right here. So if we come in the shop, we have these two stubs right here, and basically what I'm gonna do is just mark it on the outside of the shop so that we dig this out and don't cover it with the pit run. Because we kind of decided last second, since we already have the trench open, we might as well just get some poly tubing and run it from the house all the way to the shop. What we're gonna do is it's gonna, at the house side of the poly, it's gonna terminate up to like a quick connect for a hose, and that's gonna hook up to the hose bib. So pretty easy solution. We could even run another hose bib at the shop or just hook it straight up to the sink and have water for washing our hands.
Well, the inspection passed, and now it's the next day. I'm working on fixing these sprinklers before Darren gets back on Monday. So we filled up most of the trench, but we left a little bit of it open for the power company to run their elbow, and also a little bit for me to fix these sprinklers. So what you can see here is basically what I'm doing here. I'm forcing water upstream towards the sprinkler box because, you know, I know that these go this way under this pad, but you can see we have a ton of torn lines. We got one there, we got one here. There were a bunch alongside this fence, which is fine, we can get rid of those. But in this back area over here, you see we have more lines. That one, that black one is the shop water. That goes all the way in the trench that way. We did that yesterday too. But basically the hose right here, it showed me where this ends up. So this was not this clear, it was buried, and it was kind of shooting out the water once I turned the hose on. So I dug this up, and I'm pretty sure if I turn on zone 3, it's this one, and that feeds this. That goes under the concrete pad behind me and then goes to those other sprinklers. So pretty sure if I cut this line out, run a straight, like a coupler, straight poly to this one, it should fix the sprinklers for that zone. So I'm just gonna turn on zone 3 here and then go check it out. Okay, it's on. I can't run because I messed up my knee just walking yesterday, which is hilarious. Guess I'm getting old. But let's see if this is out here shooting water, and if it is, then we're right. Oh yeah. All right. So that one needs to be hooked up here. Let's go turn this thing off before we get too much mud. Moment of truth, let's see if this zone still leaks. There is that one severed line in the trench, so I don't know if that's gonna leak or not. We'll see right now. This one right here, if that one leaks. Sounds like the sprinklers are gonna turn on though. See if this one pops up. Looking good so far. This one's popping up. This one's going. And that one's going too. I know that rotors and spray heads shouldn't be on the same zone, but we're just testing stuff to see if it works. So looks like we're good. Doing one more check over here. So this green pipe, it used to have a spray head there and then another one here, and then it has this one under this bush that we're gonna cut out, and it goes under this mound, under the slab, and then up towards the street. So kind of an interesting zone, kind of odd, but I don't see any or hear any leaks. We hop down here, try not to fall, and see if our connections are leaking anywhere. We're looking good there. Camera's getting soaked. And then over here, where I tied into the zone, we're looking good. All right, last thing is to fix zone 4, but since that's gonna go under a large retaining wall area here, we're gonna do that later. But basically this green hose just connects to the other side of the green hose that's ripped out over there. So sprinklers, done.
Since we're replacing these retaining walls in this area, I figured it would be a good idea to remove this part of our deck. This entire deck is a nightmare and nothing about it is built right, but this part especially attracts an insane amount of wasps. This whole area is rotten. The posts aren't even in the ground, they're just sitting there, and every bit of it was out of square. So I'm glad I removed it, and it'll also provide a fresh canvas for the crew to build a wall without the constraints of an ugly deck in their way. And then we got started on trenching to the shop for the water. So like I said previously, there's going to be a quick connect at the house on that poly fitting that'll hook up to a garden hose that'll go to the hose bib to feed the water to the shop. This is just the way that I wanted to do it. I don't want to tie into the main water line from the house, and that's going to route through a stubbed up section into the shop, and then we had to figure out the drain.
What we have here is a giant pit. This is going to work as the drain for the shop sink. We got all these larger rocks out of the pit run over there, wash all the dirt off of them, and they're just going to lay down here like a bed of drain rock. So I'm going to try to empty these things out in here without damaging the feed for the sink, and then get the drain plumbed, drill some holes in the bottom of that ABS pipe that's going to go on top of this drain field. I guess that's what this is. And lay that all down here in this pit. See if there's a way we can hold up this pipe and then just dump all these rocks in here. Maybe I can just pull this thing out of here actually when I'm doing this. Yeah, to not damage it. And then we'll just dump all these rocks right into this area right here. Well, we had a bit of a diversion there. All of the ABS that I bought was 2-inch, and all the ABS that I stubbed is 1.5 inches. So it's the next day. I'm wearing this hat because it's like 6 p.m. Just got off work. It's 103 degrees out here, which is way hotter than it was yesterday. So just trying to take some precautions to not die out here. But as you can see, we have 1.5 inch ABS right here. So obviously all the 2-inch pipe is not gonna work. But I was able to feed the PEX through this stubbed pipe right here. So for this one, what I was gonna do, the original plan was to route this and drain it out to this whole area right here. And it's a little bit unnecessary because this is just gonna be a hand washing sink. It's not gonna ever, you know, it's never going to be responsible for dumping large amounts of water into this area. So what I decided to do instead was just run, as you can see, this little area I made right here, just run all the water into this spot right here. So what I'm gonna do is lay down some landscaping fabric here, hopefully as an attempt to prevent mud and everything from forming at the bottom of those rocks. I don't even know if it would really matter. And then route the pipe into that bed of rocks. And then once the guys come to fill this hole back up, they have their own really strong fabric they use for septic systems that they'll put over the rocks, and we'll just backfill it all up and hopefully be good. So hot out there that the camera shut off when I was putting those rocks down in the pit. So we're just taking a break. What we're doing now is I'm gonna drill these holes. Whoa! I'm gonna try to drill these holes. I'm gonna drill these holes on the bottom of this ABS pipe just on the way to the end, which will then drain into the into those rocks. So I think I should probably keep them a little bit smaller. This first one I drilled, I think, is too big. Gonna make them a little bit smaller and maybe just make more of them without damaging the integrity of the pipe too much. All right, got the pipe all glued up. It's been sitting there for a little bit. I think we're okay to run some water through it. I want to test and see how this thing drains, so just gonna run this right down the drain pipe, turn the water on, and see how it does. So I have the hose just placed right here, right into that drain pipe, and we're running the water down into the pit, and it looks like it's draining really well. I mean, this is probably more pressure than I would ever, well, be washing my hands with. It's just gonna be a sink, and yeah, check it out. Let's hop down there. So we're gonna be adding some more rock down here anyway, but as you can see, I just adapted the 1.5 inch to the 2 inch coupler here. Got a little 6 inch section of 2 inch, it's 20-degree fitting, and this just goes down right here into the area, and just gonna run this for like five minutes or so and see if it clogs up or has any problems. And we still have a lot more rocks to add because we got to cover this entire area with rocks. We got to cover the pipe with rocks. So we're gonna do that, wrap it in fabric, backfill, and we're done.
So I actually ended up changing this entire system here. I was able to find a 55-gallon plastic drum on Facebook for only $10, and after watching a couple YouTube videos, I saw that people cut them in half. They lay them down to kind of make like a leach field almost, where the pipe goes into the barrel and it drains across the rocks that way. I also changed how I drilled my pipe and put the holes on the sides of the pipe kind of near the bottom, like the 4 and 8 o'clock positions, instead of directly on the bottom of the pipe, which I don't think was the right way to do it. As for the work remaining on the shop, we still have to finish the road, the retaining wall, backfill the trench at the power pole and the shop, get the meter base inspected, build the front parking area, do the power inside the shop, finish the interior walls. There's so much work to do on the shop, but that's going to wrap it up for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.